What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're reviewing the FeiyuTech AK2000C. Let's get into it. Now, before we get too far in this video, FeiyuTech is not sponsoring this video. They did send me this gimbal for free to review. However, they do not have any impact on what I'm going to say when I'm going to review it. They're seeing this video the exact same time you guys are. I have a love-hate relationship with gimbals. I do think there is a time and a place for gimbals, and they do serve a purpose on set or on filmmaking jobs, freelance jobs. However, I think a lot of hype gets behind gimbals and people just grab them thinking it's going to fix all their needs. And that is not what they're intended to do. They're intended to enhance certain shots. However, they are not there to fix everything. With all that aside, let's dive into the specs of the AK2000C. This gimbal only weighs about 2 pounds. It's just a little under 2 pounds the actual gimbal weighs. However, the payload of this will actually hold up to like 4.8 pounds, something like that. It's just shy of 5 pounds. I myself put my A7S III with the G Master 16-35 2.8 on this gimbal, and it handled it fine. I do have some pros and cons with that, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Overall, it handled the camera fine, had no problems. The footage wound up looking fantastic out of it. So for being such a small gimbal, this thing really can hold a lot of weight. Battery life. This thing will last up to 7 hours of continual run time. It says balanced well, but that's pretty much with any gimbal. As long as it's balanced well, it's going to perform better than if it's not balanced well. It has 12 hours of standby time. It does have a built-in 22 milliamp battery, and it takes about an hour and a half to charge via USB-C. I think this battery will last you pretty much the entire day. This gimbal comes with a plethora of accessories, cables, the feet that attach to the bottom. They get a little tripod, the quick release plate, so on and so forth. Overall, you're getting a decent amount in this package. Let's talk about build quality. I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. It's a really nice gimbal. It's very light. Like I said, only about 2 pounds, which I prefer gimbals that are not crazy heavy. It's got 3 locking pins on all the axes, which I think every gimbal from here on out needs to have that. I'm pretty sure majority of gimbals I've seen coming out has these locking pins, and I'm glad to see that FeiyuTech included this into this gimbal. It makes it way easier to balance it. It makes it way easier to transport it, because if you want to power it down, like we were talking about earlier, at a wedding or something, and you're worried that someone's going to bump it and it may just make the whole thing shake a little bit and then tilt over, just lock all the pins and you're good to go. The one thing that I did not like about the build quality is there's a little bit of a rattle. It made me feel like the quality was cheaper than I felt like the product actually was. However, it did not hinder any of the shots or the final product of this. It just kind of annoyed me a little bit that it had a little bit of a play and a rattle to it. Let's dive into some pros and cons. Starting with the pros, we already went over that it's lightweight. I like. We already went over that it's got locking pins, which I also like. We also went over that the payload is high, which I like as well. The two things we have not talked about are the touch screen and the modes that are in it. I love when a gimbal has touch screens, and you can again lock this one just the same as pretty much any one that has touch screens, so you're not going to bump it when you're using it. It works really well. The screen is very fast and it is very responsive. Multiple modes that you can go through, change things, and then the settings are if you swipe over to the left from the right and you can swipe over again, you can dive into it and you can see how it's working. There is an app for this gimbal. I like apps that come with stuff so you can really dive into it, but if I'm in the field and I'm filming something, I do not want to have to pull out my phone to fix something. If you have connection issues, if you have it running slow, no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, whatever it is, everything I can do on this gimbal, I can basically do in the app and vice versa, so I don't really have to pull that out. Let's talk about the cons. Con number one has to do with the quick release plate. I do love the quick release plate. It really should be in the Pros and the cons. It works great. I love that you can pull the camera off and you don't have to rebalance anything. That's phenomenal. However, the reason I'm putting it in the cons is the grip knob that you tighten down the quick release plate. I do not like the location of it. I kept bumping my hand to my camera, and honestly, there were a few times I was really having a hard time cranking it down to make sure it was secure because I couldn't get my hand to turn enough in that little bit of space. It was very compact. I would have preferred it to be on the side maybe a little bit more. That way I don't have to worry about it bumping into my camera. It was just a little bit of a nuisance. Again, I absolutely love that there's a quick release plate. I would, however, like to see that be fine-tuned in a new revision. Con number 2 is the menus are not as intuitive as I would like them to be. I know I talked about how great they are, which they are great, and they do have a lot of stuff in it. However, it's not really that intuitive to just go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Let me swipe over and swipe over one more time. FeiyuTech does have multiple videos on their YouTube channel to help you guys out. However, I would like to see the menu system be just a little bit easier to navigate and make a little bit more sense. The last con is the size of the gimbal. Now, I like that it is a small, compact gimbal. I understand this is technically a budget entry gimbal and it has a really good payload for what it is. I understand the gimbal is not that much weight holding. It's fantastic. However, for me using my A7S III with the 16-35 G Master, I could not do some of the moves fully because there was not enough clearance in the back. It does work and I did get it to work fine and it will hold the weight of my camera. It just really isn't intended for bigger cameras. If you have some smaller cameras like the crop sensor Sony cameras, some of those with just a smaller lens, this gimbal can hold the weight of some of these bigger cameras, but it may not be intended to because of the clearance issues. Final thoughts on the FeiyuTech AK2000C. If you're in the market for a gimbal, especially that budget entry cost, sub $300, I would recommend checking this out. If you are just starting out in the gimbal work, you're just starting in freelance work, you need something that really fits that crop sensor body, or even a full sensor body just with a little bit of a smaller lens, then you're completely good to go. It will work with the bigger cameras. However, that clearance issue is something to keep in mind. Thank you, FeiyuTech, for sending this gimbal out and having me review it. If you guys are new here, give me a thumbs up, drop a comment below, let me know what you think of this gimbal. Do you like it? Are you gonna check it out? There, of course, will be links in the description below for you guys to check it out, read up more on it, buy it if you'd like. It's really up to you. If you guys are new here, consider subscribing or don't, you know, your life. You guys are amazing. I'm the Iron Giant. I'll see you next time. Peace.